Do you regret now, given how glad you are that it's now happening, do you regret voting against it?
Well, of course, I'm pleased that we're making sure that.
That wasn't the question. I just asked if you. I asked if you regretted. But hang on, it's a very important question because you wouldn't have done it without Marcus Rashford campaigning. My question for you is, given how glad you now are that it's happening, do you regret voting against it? It's a yes or no.
Well, as I say, I'm really glad that it's happening now.
But do you regret it? Do you regret voting against it?
Well, I'll put it this way. In the first lockdown, we took this action. And now, as you say, we're in a second.
Secretary, you only have to say yes or no, whether you regret it. You either regret it or you don't.
Well, I'm really glad that the situation's been resolved.
So you regret voting against it?
I'm really glad it's been resolved and we've sorted it out. And I'm going to use my own words to describe my own feelings on this one.
So you won't answer the question?
Well, it's that I'm answering the question, and I'm really glad that we've sorted.
Well, let's just hope going forward we don't rely. Let's just hope we don't have to rely, as we have to again this week, on Marcus Rashford to once again expose the iniquity of this system, because these kids are in lockdown, they're suffering, they're hungry, and they need support, and they need proper support from you as Health Secretary and the government.
Oh, hello there, Matt Hancock there, the Health Secretary. Avoiding the question back in the original lockdown or the first lockdown when Piers Morgan, the brilliant Piers Morgan, put him on the spot. And the Tories thought this would all go away. The school meals during lockdown, it hasn't gone away. Marcus Rashford hasn't gone away.
This story began with an image that went viral on UK Twitter, being shared more than 28,000 times. And it is this one, a disgruntled mother sharing an image of a food parcel that she had received for her children for 5 days to feed them during the COVID-19 pandemic. In the UK, families that are eligible for free school meals will receive parcels like this as a substitute for vouchers worth up to £30.
Yeah, I mean, that's not 30 quid. I know it says up to 30 quid, and I know single parents are like 2 kids or whatever, it's like 15 quid. That is, I guarantee you, that is literally 3 quid tops. Some people would argue, they go, well, no, that's 4 quid. Well, it's not 15 quid, is it? And it's not 30 quid. It's a fucking insult.
Very good morning to you. Welcome to Breakfast with Dan Walker and Louise Minchin.
Headlines for you at 6 o'clock this morning. Ministers admit free food parcels for children must urgently improve as the mother who sparked the row tells the programme why she shared this photo.
As I unpacked that food parcel in my living room and looked at the contents, it felt very sad.
Very sad?
Because I didn't think it looked like a lot. And I could see the child's realisation that this is what I've been given to eat for a week, and just a sense of sadness. Where has the rest of the food gone? You know, this is meant to be a week's food.
Yeah, I totally get what she's saying. I understand that, but if you can't be a little bit more animated, other than, well, I felt sad when I saw it, you're not really going to get anywhere. You got to stand up and, like, you know, be noticed and say, this is bullshit. What the fuck is this shite? You fuck off and all that. Get it?
Learning from home also means lunch at home for many thousands of families who normally need free school meals. Parents like Amy, a single mum, was told they'd continue through lockdown. But last week, this is the food parcel she received, supposed to feed her daughter for 3 days. But aside from several bags of raisins, it contained very little food.
Yeah, Amy's got a serious right to be pissed off there. That's about 2 quid's worth of stuff. 4 apples. You've got multiple white bags filled with raisins, a couple of jelly things, and some juice drinks. Come on. That's about 2 quid all day. All day.
The photo of her parcel was tweeted by the school meals campaigner Marcus Rashford. It prompted many other parents to claim they'd also received inadequate supplies. The government says the hampers ensure children are getting a balanced diet.
But this is the point that even the dumb will know they've been lied to. When the government says that these food parcels are giving your children a balanced diet. Which part of any of those parcels you've seen so far are balanced diets? Apples, raisins, a couple of juice drinks, and like a yogurt thing in a tube. Some old potato, like a banana that's probably been left out for about a week. Really?
The problems we have with the hamper scheme.
Hamper scheme? No, that's not a hamper. Right, when you open a hamper, right, you normally get a selection of jellies and jams and some mustard and a pheasant that goes woo, right? No, not a hamper. No. And at the bottom of the parcel, it's got a little note from Boris, and you open it up and it's got a fuck you.
Schools are being encouraged to use their existing meals providers, usually private companies.
That's when it all goes wrong, when you outsource it to private companies, because then it becomes about profit.
Paul Walsh, chairman of the Compass Group, was a former member of David Cameron's Business Advisory Group, and he is also a Tory party donor. So the person that got the contract does also donate to the Tory party. That might not be the only reason, but those two things are both true.
Yeah, I mean, the Tories have got a history of this nonsense. They did it with Lloyds Bank. George Osborne flogged it, cheap price to his mates. Doing it again. Sold off a contract to some billionaire who sits on the board of the Tory party. You've got that contract, everything's tidy.
Walsh also sits on the boards of Unilever and McDonald's.
Yeah, I mean, if you sit on the board of Unilever, you're on the board of the Tory party, you really don't need to be on the board of McDonald's, because you're already a multi-billionaire. Like, stop being so fucking greedy, you cunt.
The problems we have with the hamper scheme is we aren't in control of what goes home, and obviously the companies involved have additional costs. That means not all the £15 can go directly to the children and the food they need.
Problem being is when they took away the voucher scheme, then you've got logistics, you've got staffing problems and all this kind of stuff. So if you brought back the voucher scheme, you wouldn't have this problem, and all of that £15 would go to the child, would it not? Oh, sorry, I forgot. Your mate's on the board from Unilever. Oh, and McDonald's. How come he's not chucking cheeseburgers in these food? Yeah, they cost more than 30p.
The government says parcels like Amy's, pictured online, was provided by a company called Chartwells, who've apologised, but the experience has left her and many families genuinely worrying about where the next meal's coming from.
You see, what happened was the government apparently outsourced this thing to their mates, because there was too many complaints about the vouchers not working, and the vouchers didn't work for a reason. The vouchers didn't work for a reason because they were made not to work. So let's have a look at what Chartwells have said in these trying times for these multi-billionaire corporate wankers.
We take our responsibility to provide children with access to nutritious food very seriously. We've worked hard to produce food hampers at incredibly short notice during these challenging times. Follow the DOFE specifications and contain a variety of ingredients to support families in providing meals throughout the week. In the majority of instances, we've received positive feedback. Well, it don't look like it from that array of photographs.
Yeah, Russell Brand, the legendary Russell Brand. Yeah, apparently Chartwells take these like nutritions really seriously. Bags of raisins, apples, and a couple of juice drinks. Some rotting potatoes as well. We all need rotting potatoes in our diet. Like, if you haven't had a couple of rotting potatoes this week, what have you been doing?
Disgraceful food parcels for children, costed at about £5 each. That's not what the government promised. It's nowhere near enough. So can I ask the Prime Minister, would he be happy with his kids living on that? And if not, why is he happy for other people's kids to do so?
Yeah, Keir Starmer there. He's the leader of the opposition of the Labour Party. He's got the charisma of a snail. However, I think he does a pretty good job here against Boris. The lovely Boris. Yes. Have a look.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I don't think anybody in this House is happy with the disgraceful images that we've seen of the food parcels that have been offered. They are appalling. They're an insult to the families that have received them. And I'm grateful, by the way, to Marcus Rashford, who highlighted the issue and is doing quite an effective job by comparison with the right honourable gentleman in holding the government to account for these issues.
Out, shake it all about, Boris. String a line together, you fucking buffoon.
And the company in question has rightly apologised and agreed to reimburse.
It's not as simple as that, is it? Because I've checked the government guidance on free school meals, the current guidance, published by the Department of Education. I've got it here.
Government guidance, please. I have my own copy.
It sets out example parcel for one child for 5 days. Department of Education, Prime Minister, you want to be held to account. 1 loaf of bread, 2 baked potatoes, block of cheese, baked beans, 3 individual yoghurts. Sound familiar? That's the images, Prime Minister, you just called disgraceful. The only difference I can see in this list and what the Prime Minister's described as disgraceful.
Yeah, Boris is going, what? Tinned what? I know nothing of this poor stuff. I'm used to the best in life. Quail eggs, pheasant in baby seal hearts, filet mignon in sauce béarnaise, and a Yorkie.
Is a tin of sweet corn, a packet of ham and a bottle of milk. So he blames others. But this is on his watch. The truth is, families come last under this government.
Nah, come on, Starmer. You want to be the next Prime Minister, mate? You've got to do better than that. Families do not come last under the Tory government on everything. They definitely come first on poverty.
This is a week's worth for one child. We've got beans on toast. We've got beans on a jacket potato.
In the first lockdown, single mum Hannah used to get a £15 food voucher each week. Now she gets a food parcel instead. The catering company involved says it provides nutritious ingredients for 5 school meals to government standards. Hannah thinks she's losing out.
Even looking at that, you can see straight off the bat it's probably no more than about £4. So Hannah's no different. She's getting mugged off as well. Vouchers are the way. Food parcels.
I think it's probably about £5 worth of ingredients. But I mean, it's not that I'm ungrateful for what I've got.
Fucking hell, I would be.
It's the same ingredients, same meals. It frustrates me. It makes no sense. I understand that the rest of the money they're spending on the staffing costs of assembling these ingredients and getting them to us, which just seems nonsensical. When you could just give us a £15 voucher, we could get £15 worth of food, drinks, everything that the children need.
Families have been sharing food parcel photos on social media. Different parts of the country, different catering companies. The Royal College of Paediatricians said some of the examples shared are an insult. The government said they're unacceptable and is investigating.
Yeah, I mean, that's the problem, isn't it? And this is ultimately the problem. The government are saying this kind of shite is acceptable. Government guidelines acceptable, but it's not acceptable to them. There's no way they would feed their children on this crap, right? This is the point Marcus Rashford is trying to make. So I say, well, hang on a minute, you wouldn't fucking eat it. Right, he grew up in poverty. I grew up in poverty. I was always fed, though, like he was. Point being is, the government is saying this is acceptable. Now that it's been highlighted by people who are saying, well, no, it's not acceptable, mate. You can't feed people this fucking shite. They're going, oh, okay, it's not acceptable now. We better stop outsourcing it to our billionaire mates and go back to the voucher thing because we've been found out. That's what's happened. That is what's happened. They thought this would go away. It's not going away.
Food poverty campaigner footballer Marcus Rashford shared some of the images and has spoken to one of the firms today, tweeting, "One thing that is clear is that there was very little communication with the suppliers that a national lockdown was coming. We must do better. Children shouldn't be going hungry on the basis that we aren't communicating or being transparent with plans. That is unacceptable." The head teacher back at Hannah's school told me a new voucher scheme is promised by government but not ready yet.
I want to be able to offer parents vouchers if they want them so they can supplement their weekly shop. Parents have got enough on their plate.
Ooh, good one, good one. Like it, like it. Probably not the time or the place, but these are...
Dealing with lockdown 3, dealing with home learning, and dealing with all the challenges that a winter lockdown gives them.
And Hannah believes the challenge would be easier if she had the extra funds directly to make her own food choices.
Yeah, Hannah's right. The vouchers worked before. I think they're coming back now, because Jen mentioned earlier that people have been coming back into her store with them. So I think the wankers at the Tory government have gone, oh, fuck it, no, we've been found out here. Fucking vouchers, right. Before we have a riot, because you will get one. Listen, people need to eat, kids need to eat, and I'm going to leave you with a lovely little clip of the current Tory party government having lunch. See you later.